The water was so cold, my heart stopped beating for 47 seconds. My husband watched, his mistress laughed, everyone pulled out their phones. And when I finally got out, shaking and dying, he whispered 4 words that broke me. It was just fun. But God had other plans. Listen, before I tell you what happened next, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and share this video, because what I'm about to tell you needs to be heard. Someone in your life needs this message. I promise you, this story will stay with you forever. Now let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Andrea. I'm 34 years old, and I used to believe in fairy tales. For 8 years, I was married to Michael. On paper, we were perfect. We both worked at Tech Vision Solutions, one of those big tech companies where everyone wears expensive watches and talks about disrupting industries. I was the senior human resources manager. Michael was the vice president of sales. We were the power couple everyone admired at company events. Beautiful house in the suburbs, 2 nice cars in the garage, good money in the bank. We were living the dream. At least, that's what I thought. But about 3 months before that winter party, things started changing. Small things at first. Michael's phone was always face down on the table. He started working late, 4 or 5 nights a week, coming home smelling like expensive restaurants I'd never been to. When I asked about his day, his answers got shorter, vaguer. Just the usual, baby. You know how it is. The morning kisses stopped. The way he used to touch my shoulder when he passed me in the kitchen, that stopped too. Our intimate life became routine, then rare, then practically non-existent. I told myself every marriage goes through phases. My best friend Diane, who also worked at our company, she saw it differently. "Girl, something's off with Michael," she'd say during our lunch breaks. But I defended him. I always defended him. "You're just being paranoid," I'd tell her, even though my gut was screaming something different. Then 6 weeks before the retreat, they hired Vanessa, new marketing director, 26 years old, blonde, confident, the kind of woman who walks into a room and knows everyone's looking. Michael volunteered to show her around on her first day. When I met her briefly in the hallway, her handshake was cold, her smile fake. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Harris," she said. "Michael talks about you, sometimes." That word, sometimes, it hung in the air like poison. But I smiled. I was polite. I was the bigger person. What I should have been was aware. After Vanessa arrived, Michael changed completely. He mentioned her constantly. "Vanessa had this great idea for the campaign. Vanessa is so innovative with her approach. You should be more like Vanessa. She's always so positive." Every mention of her name felt like a tiny knife in my chest, but I swallowed it down. I trusted my husband. That was my first and biggest mistake. When they announced the annual winter retreat to Frost Peak Lodge, Michael's excitement was unusual. He bought new cologne, new clothes, spent an hour picking out the right jacket. "I want to look good for the company photos," he said. I thought he was just being professional. Diane whispered to me in the break room, "Vanessa's going too, right?" My stomach turned, but I pushed it down. I was going to prove everyone wrong. We were fine. Our marriage was fine. Everything was fine. We arrived at the resort on a Friday evening in late January. The temperature was -25 degrees Celsius, feeling closer to -35 with the wind chill. The place was stunning. Ice sculptures everywhere, a massive frozen lake, snow-covered mountains in every direction. It looked like a winter wonderland. It felt like a trap. 50 employees made the trip. When we checked in, Michael said we should get separate rooms. "I snore so bad lately, baby. I don't want to keep you up." Red flag number 100, and I still ignored it. That first night at the welcome dinner, Michael sat at Vanessa's table, not with me. I sat with Diane and Thomas, an older colleague who'd always been kind to me. Diane was furious. "This is disrespectful," she hissed. I made excuses. "He's just networking." Thomas just shook his head sadly, like he knew something I didn't want to face. Saturday night was the big bonfire party by the frozen lake. Music playing, drinks flowing, people laughing under the stars. I spent 20 minutes looking for Michael. When I found him, he was in a corner of the deck with Vanessa pressed so close to him. They might as well have been one person. They weren't talking about work. I walked over, my heart pounding. Michael pulled away quickly. "We were just talking about Q4 numbers," he said. Vanessa smirked at me. Actually smirked. "Your wife doesn't trust you?" she asked him, her voice dripping with fake concern. "I trust my husband completely," I said, looking straight at her. "Good," Vanessa said, that smirk never leaving her face. "You should." I'll never forget that look. It was the look of a woman who'd already won. About an hour later, Gerald, one of the company VPs, announced something he called the Polar Plunge Challenge. They'd broken open a small section of the frozen lake, maybe 6 feet by 6 feet. The water beneath was black and terrifying. "Anyone brave enough to jump in?" he called out. Everyone laughed and said absolutely not. It was dangerous, stupid, deadly even. Then Vanessa, drunk and loud, shouted across the crowd, "Nobody here has any guts." She pointed at Michael. "What about you, Mr. Big Shot VP?" Michael laughed nervously. "Hell no, I'm not stupid." Vanessa's face changed. "Then you're just like everyone else. Boring." I watched my husband's expression shift. His ego had been hit. That's all it took. "Unless," Vanessa continued, looking straight at me, "your wife is brave enough." Suddenly, everyone was staring at me. Michael grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the edge of the broken ice. "Andrea's tougher than all of us combined, aren't you, baby?" I was confused, cold, and scared. "Michael, it's dangerous," I said quietly. Vanessa yelled loud enough for everyone to hear. "See? Even she's too scared." The crowd started chanting, "Do it, do it, do it." Michael's grip on my arm tightened. "Come on, don't embarrass me," he whispered harshly. I found myself standing at the edge, looking down at that black water with chunks of ice floating in it like broken teeth. I wasn't going to do it. I swear I wasn't. Michael stood behind me, his hand on my back. He leaned in close and whispered, "Just pretend, then back away. Make me look good." I nodded, relieved. But then Vanessa screamed across the crowd, "Michael, are you a man or a mouse?" Everything happened in slow motion. Michael's hand pushed hard against my back. I felt myself falling forward, my arms flailing uselessly at the air. The cold hit me before the water did. Then I went under, and hell opened up beneath me. The water wasn't just cold, it was pain. Pure, absolute pain. Every nerve in my body screamed. I tried to breathe and sucked in freezing water instead. My lungs burned. I tried to swim up, but my body wouldn't respond. My arms felt like concrete. My legs wouldn't kick. The cold was shutting everything down, system by system. My vision started going dark around the edges. This is how I die, I thought. My husband just killed me. Above the water, I learned later. The crowd was screaming. Vanessa was laughing and clapping, like it was the funniest thing she'd ever seen. Michael stood there frozen, watching. People had their phones out, recording my death for social media. It took 47 seconds before someone actually helped. Thomas and Diane jumped in and pulled me out. When they dragged me onto the ice, my lips were blue, my skin gray. I wasn't breathing. My heart had stopped. The resort's paramedics started chest compressions immediately. 47 seconds of CPR before my heart started again. When I finally gasped and water poured from my mouth, I was shaking so violently I thought my bones would break. My teeth were chattering so hard I tasted blood. Through blurry, tear-filled eyes, I searched for Michael. He was standing back with Vanessa, holding onto his arm. When he finally walked over and knelt down next to me, I managed to whisper through my shaking, why did you?" He looked annoyed, embarrassed. He glanced at the crowd, watching us, then back at me. "It was just fun," he said. 4 words. That's all I got. Then he stood up, looked at everyone staring, and announced, "She's fine, everyone. Keep partying." He walked back to Vanessa, put his arm around her, and she kissed his cheek, right there, in front of me. in front of everyone, while I was wrapped in blankets on the ground, still not sure if I was going to live or die. They rushed me to the local hospital. My core body temperature was 28 degrees Celsius, when normal is 37. The doctors said I was at risk for cardiac arrest and organ failure. They admitted me to the ICU. Diane refused to leave my side. Thomas waited in the lobby. Michael didn't show up for 3 hours. When he finally walked in, he smelled like alcohol and perfume. That definitely wasn't mine. I was so weak I could barely speak, but I managed to say, "You almost killed me." He rolled his eyes, actually rolled his eyes. "Don't be dramatic. It was an accident." "You pushed me," I whispered. "You're making me look bad," he said. "Everyone thinks you're overreacting." That's when Diane stepped between us. "Get out. Now." Michael left, not worried, just annoyed that I was causing problems. After he was gone, Diane sat by my hospital bed and took my hand. "I need to tell you something. You're going to hate me, but you need to know." I felt tears forming before she even spoke. "Just say it," I told her. She told me everything. Michael and Vanessa had been having an affair for at least 2 months. The entire office knew. They weren't careful or discreet. Long lunches together, leaving work at the same time. Hotel receipts left on his desk. Someone had seen them kissing in the parking garage. Even HR knew but wouldn't act because Michael was too important to the company. "Tonight wasn't an accident, Andrea," Diane said, her voice breaking. "Vanessa dared him." She said, "Prove you're not afraid of your wife." In that moment, lying in that hospital bed, everything made sense. The late nights, the distance, the cruelty. He had chosen her, and I had almost died because of it. Michael had left his iPad at the hospital, plugged in and charging. After Diane went to get coffee, I unlocked it. I knew his password, our anniversary date. Ironic, right? What I found destroyed whatever tiny piece of my heart was still intact. Messages between him and Vanessa, going back months. "Can't wait to get rid of the dead weight. Your wife is so boring. After this retreat, I'm filing for divorce. Love you, baby. Always wanted a younger model." There were photos of them in hotel rooms, fancy restaurants, even a beach vacation he'd told me was a work trip. I checked the bank statements. $18,000 spent on Vanessa in just 8 weeks. Jewelry, designer clothes, hotel rooms, expensive dinners. Our savings account was nearly empty. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was going to be the survivor. From my hospital bed on Sunday morning, I called a divorce attorney. She came to the hospital within hours, reviewed everything I'd sent her, and said, "This is clear adultery, financial abuse, and now physical endangerment. We're going to make sure you get everything." We prepared the papers right there. I signed them with shaking hands, still weak from hypothermia. A process server was ready to deliver them first thing Tuesday morning. When I was released from the hospital Monday evening, Diane drove me home. I opened the front door to find half of Michael's clothes gone. His cologne, his laptop, his favorite shoes, all gone. There was a note on the kitchen counter in his handwriting. "Andrea, I'm staying at a hotel for a few days. We need space. Let's talk when you're less emotional. -M, less emotional." I had almost died, and he thought I was being emotional. I didn't cry. I was past crying. I packed the rest of his things into trash bags and put them on the porch. I called a locksmith and changed every lock on the house. I called the bank and froze our joint accounts. I canceled his credit cards. If he wanted war, he was going to get it. Tuesday morning, Michael showed up at the house. He couldn't get in because the locks were changed. He banged on the door like a child throwing a tantrum. I opened it calmly and handed him the divorce papers. His face went pale. "What? What is this?" "Read it," I said. "You've been served." He stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. "You can't be serious. Over a stupid prank?" "A prank." He called my near-death experience a prank. "My heart stopped, Michael," I said quietly. For 47 seconds, I was dead. He waved his hand dismissively. But you're fine now. Am I? I asked. Did you even ask how I'm doing? Did you visit me in the hospital more than once? I was busy, he started to say. With Vanessa, I interrupted. I know everything. His face drained of all color. The affair. The money you spent on her. Your plan to divorce me. I have proof, screenshots, bank statements, videos from the party, everything. He tried to stammer out an explanation, but I'd heard enough lies to last a lifetime. I don't want explanations, I told him. I want you gone. Your stuff is on the porch. Don't ever come back. I closed the door in his face and locked it. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. Wednesday morning, I filed a formal complaint with HR. I provided all the evidence, the affair, the financial documents, the videos from the party that people had posted on social media. HR had no choice. There was too much evidence. Michael was called into a meeting with the CEO and HR director. He was suspended immediately. Vanessa was called in next. The company had a strict policy against relationships between executives. They were both suspended without pay. Within 2 weeks, they were both fired. Michael's reputation in the industry was destroyed. Word spreads fast in our field. Other companies wouldn't touch him. He went from vice president, making 6 figures, to unemployed and unemployable. But the worst was still coming. 3 weeks after the incident, I started having symptoms. Chest pain, shortness of breath. My heart would race for no reason, then feel like it was barely beating. I was exhausted all the time. My doctor sent me to a cardiologist. They ran tests, EKG, echocardiogram, stress test. When the doctor called me in to discuss the results, I knew from his face it was bad. Andrea, I need you to sit down, he said. My hands started shaking. The hypothermia caused significant damage to your heart muscle. Your ejection fraction is at 35%. Normal is 55 to 70%. I didn't understand. What does that mean? I asked. You have heart failure, he said gently. Permanent damage. Your heart can't pump blood effectively anymore. The room started spinning. Can it be fixed? He shook his head. We can manage it with medication, but the damage is irreversible. You may need a transplant eventually. I'm 34 years old, and my heart is broken. Literally, my life changed overnight. I take 7 pills every morning just to function. I can't work full days anymore. Walking upstairs leaves me breathless. No more exercise, no more dancing, no more living the way I used to. I have doctor's appointments every month. I live with constant fear. Will I need a transplant? Will I die young? Will I ever feel normal again? Michael didn't just break my heart emotionally. He physically destroyed it. That push didn't just hurt me. It disabled me forever. 4 weeks after the incident, I heard through Diane that Vanessa had left Michael. Her exact words, according to someone who overheard, I didn't sign up for this mess. You're broke and pathetic. She was already dating someone new within days, a rich executive from a competitor company. They got engaged 6 weeks later. Michael tried to contact me when he heard. He called, texted, even showed up at my apartment building. I made a mistake. I lost everything. Please. I blocked his number. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. 2 months later, I heard Michael was working some low-level sales job, barely making rent. He'd lost the house, lost his career, lost his reputation. He was living with his brother, depressed and isolated. Mutual friends said he kept asking about me, wanting forgiveness. But there's no forgiveness for what he did. Not now, not ever. 6 months after that night, my divorce was finalized. I got the house, which I sold because there were too many bad memories. I got 70% of our marital assets, his pension, and monthly alimony. I moved to a smaller apartment that feels peaceful and quiet. I'm still dealing with my heart condition every single day. There are good days and bad days. I started therapy because the trauma from that night runs deeper than any physical injury. Diane visits often. She's proven to be a real friend. Thomas checks in every week. I found a new job at a different company. Part-time, less stress. I'm rebuilding my life, slowly, piece by piece. That night, at minus 25 degrees, taught me something I'll never forget. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them immediately. I ignored red flags for months because I was afraid to be alone. But you know what's worse than being alone? Being with someone who would rather watch you die than lose his ego. Michael chose Vanessa's laughter over my life, and I chose to survive, even though survival is harder than I ever imagined. My heart may be broken, but I'm still here. That's more than he gave me. So that's my story. 47 seconds underwater changed my entire life, not just because I almost died, but because I learned who my husband really was: a coward, a cheater, a man who valued impressing his mistress more than protecting his wife. My heart is damaged forever. I take 7 pills every morning just to function. Some days I can barely get out of bed. Some days I wonder if it would have been easier if I just drowned that night. But then I remember I survived for a reason: to tell this story, to warn other women, to say out loud what nobody wants to admit. Sometimes the person sleeping next to you is the most dangerous person in your life. Michael lost everything: his job, his money, his mistress, his reputation, his wife. And I lost my health, my heart, my ability to trust. But I gained something too: my voice, my strength, my truth. And I'm still standing. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you of something in your own life, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell so you never miss a story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe it's your sister, your friend, your coworker, someone who's ignoring red flags right now. Drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever ignored your gut instinct about someone? Have you ever stayed when you should have left? Let's talk. Let's support each other, because nobody should have to go through what I went through alone. And remember this: you deserve someone who would jump into the water to save you, not someone who pushes you in to make someone else smile. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And please, don't ignore the red flags. Your life might depend on it. I'll see you in the next story. Take care of yourselves, and take care of your hearts, both the physical and the emotional ones. This is Andrea, signing off.